All right, YouTube, if you didn't get to see it, you should definitely, in the description, there's a link. You should look at the footage of Obama trying to attack Trump and making a fool of himself. He started stammering and stuttering to the point where I was slightly worried about his mental state. You see, Obama in 2007, 2008 was exceptionally well spoken, far more than his contemporaries at the time. He ran roughshod over his opponents, largely because he was able to deliver a soaring message to the crowd that was, number one, well formulated, it was coherent. Number two, it was well delivered, and that kept the audience lively. When people saw that on TV, they said, wow, someone who isn't, like W, who stutters all the time. Now he's doing the same thing, though. Now, some people think that it's the result of the stress of office, like in their second term, especially it's like the second half of their second term. A president's mind is kind of fried. They're a little burned out from their experience at that point, and they just start to become nervous wrecks. W started this early. I think Obama does it on purpose. I think he's trying to develop a stutter so he seems more like disarming to the crowd, so he seems less warmongering, less bloodthirsty. This was an old W tactic. W did it too. That's my theory on it. I think it's purposeful, but in the context, unfortunately what he's done now is probably give himself a permanent stammering problem. In the context of trying to attack Trump and talk about, I guess, if we embrace Trump's ideas, we will lose, the glorious progress that we've made. In the context, it wasn't that great a delivery. I think it largely fell flat with the audience to the point where it's a meme now. I mean, people are laughing about the fact that he was this formerly very well-spoken individual who, you can talk at a commencement speech, he does fine, with a teleprompter, of course. Was his teleprompter like shorting out on this particular occasion or something? Nobody, I guess, will ever know. What matters, though, really, though, is not the delivery so much as the message. This is Obama speaking. Obama, who rants about how bloodthirsty others are while droning tens of thousands of civilians. Obama, who talked about wanting to have the most transparent administration in U.S. history, while actually going after whistleblowers with more and more fervor to the point where he's jailing them left and right. He's a big proponent of the police state, of domestic surveillance. He's a big proponent of war in Syria. He wanted to fire missiles at Assad until the public told him hell no. David Cameron was right on board with him, by the way. He's a conservative, supposedly, and he's friends with Obama. I wonder how that happened. Could it be they're both bloodthirsty? I think so. To hear Obama complain about Trump, it's not going to affect the votes of many people. A lot of people are polarized, and the independents aren't going to get on board with Hillary just because they kind of sort of like maybe kind of sort of Obama, because Hillary's not Obama. I think people realize this. All we got to do is look back at the same 2008 campaign where Obama spoke so well. They were attacking each other with great fury at that time. Far beyond, by the way, the normal, well, my opponent doesn't know what he's talking about Social Security. Oh, well, my opponent's got it wrong here and there on Medicare. The sort of lukewarm, well, my policy's better than yours stuff. No, it was more cutthroat than that. It was Hillary saying Obama's will lay waste to the world. His inexperience will lead to Armageddon. He's just, he should be in chains and irons because I'm an old Southern sort of white woman and I want him to be a slave. And then Obama was like, oh, this crazy old crone doesn't represent American values. It was great to watch the exchange, by the way. At the time, they were the main rivals in the Democratic race. Now you've got Hillary sucking Obama's balls to get him to bail her out of the fact that her untrustworthiness levels are so high. It's not going to work. A decreasing minority of Americans are partisans of either party. Obama may play heavily into that, but the youth has already migrated jointly to Trump and Gary Johnson. They're abandoning the Democrats at record levels. The Democrats may find themselves this election in the unenviable position of coming in third with the youth voting bloc for the first time in a very, very long number of years. This may actually happen. Now, this did happen. They ended up getting supplanted in the younger voters in the Reagan administration. That's why Trump is basically doing exactly the same things Reagan did. He's trying to recreate the 1980s right now. I have no problem, by the way. The 80s music is the best. 80s style was pretty cool, too. I don't mind, if women want to wear shoulder pads and bungees, that's okay with me, I guess so. Anyway, he's trying to recreate the Reagan-style campaign. He realizes it's not the 80s. You get the internet now, and he's taking full advantage of that. But he's trying to put states in play that weren't before. Gary Johnson, arguably, is now getting a larger proportion of the under 30 crowd than Hillary is. And why do you blame them? Hillary Clinton is, number one, she's ancient, she's fossilized. Number two, her talking points date to a time before many of the younger voters were even born. I know Trump sort of dates to the 80s, but I guess that's cooler than the 90s. I would happen to agree there. Number three, she's not Obama. She's not young, and she's not dynamic, and she doesn't pretend to be anti-war. She hasn't even brought it up as an issue. She would rather not talk about foreign policy. She gives this big speech today where she says absolutely nothing about her own proposals for foreign policy, while lambasting Trump, saying his proposals will cause, I guess, World War III or something. By the way, I don't care if they do. Well, where are your ideas, Miss Clinton? Look at what happened in Benghazi. Look at what happened in Libya at large with Gaddafi forced out. Now ISIS is in there. Or the Syrian civil war. You were in favor of all of these things. They were all disasters. You were in favor of Obama's policy of trying to institute a Sharia state in Egypt via the Muslim Brotherhood, and that fell apart too. And thankfully, the Muslim Brotherhood was largely slaughtered by the Egyptian government. The military took back over, kicked them back out, and things returned to stability. Thank goodness for them that happened. Otherwise, we'd have a very big crisis, I think, by now in the Suez Canal over whether we can even fucking use it. Even if we pay some sort of retarded toll. We have problems in our foreign policy. Obama has been poor on foreign policy, with the exceptions of Cuba and Vietnam, I will grant him. Hillary has been worse. She wasn't even the president. She was the Secretary of State, and her actions were more negative than Obama's actions were. That says something. No, I don't think that Obama coming out and stammering for 10 minutes is going to turn anybody who's already voting for Trump anyway off from voting for Trump. In fact, if anything, I expect it to turn off more youth voters who realize he's now outdated, he's a war hawk, he's a retard, from voting for the Democratic Party. That's what I think will happen. I think that Trump and Johnson collectively, and this is regardless of what Johnson does, by the way, I think that the youth vote is going to gravitate so heavily towards these two parties that the Democrats may come in third, which will crush them in the general election. They will actually have states where the Democratic Party potentially runs third, which makes it a minor party in my mind at that point. I think the Libertarian Party is going to end up becoming a major party, and the Democrats will fall out of favor, which is good for this country. They should. We should get as far away from Sanders-style socialism and Hillary's neoliberal/neocon mentality as possible. The Republican Party has been partially cleansed of neocons by Trump. He's forced them onto the never Trump train. Libertarian Party never had a problem with the neoliberal mentality. As far as the Democratic Party goes, let it wither and die. It doesn't even need to exist at this point. It's so woefully outdated. The ideologies of the Democrats make no sense to me. Even more so than the partisan Republicans. Even the neocon Republicans, like the Bushes, at least occasionally made sense. Very rarely, very, very rarely, Bush was a total retard too. He was a disastrous president. Very rarely they said something that made a little bit of sense. Businesses shouldn't be pressured into stopping the Merry Christmas stuff, which I don't have a problem with, and I say this as a non-Christian. But the Democrats haven't made sense in a very long time on any issue. They pretend to be anti-war. They're not. The Democrats are now a pro-war party under Obama. They will continue to be under Hillary Clinton. They're not in favor. If you want your student loans taken care of, by the way, kids, you're not going to get in under Hillary. She's not going to allocate a cent for it. She may promise that. I guarantee you. She will allocate not one red goddamn cent towards alleviating your student loan burdens. She will create not one new job. The private market may create some. She'll probably set up a bubble in the economy, just like Bill did, that will collapse at the end of her second term, should she get one. And then this country will be even more fucked. There'll be a worse recession than we're already in now. And let's face it, we are in a recession right now. We can go down the route. I more support the libertarian route of get government out of all this bullshit, because it's clear it's no longer competent to actually be involved in the marketplace. It's no longer competent to keep us safe. That's the route that I prefer that we go down. The other route is under Trump, reform the government a little bit, remove some aspects of it, at least respect the Constitution on most of these issues. I don't agree with him on surveillance. I think we need no domestic surveillance without a warrant. I don't necessarily agree with him on mass deportation. Everything else he said, I don't really have a problem with, other than the things that he said that I know are not true, which is, generally speaking, he's anti-abortion and anti-gay marriage. No, he's not. I'm going to tell you one more time, and when he is probably elected, you will get to see this as true. Here's my prediction. Trump will do not one goddamn thing if elected to office to denigrate gay marriage or abortion. He will do not one thing. Absolutely nothing. Look at what he's done with transgendered issues and ask yourself if that is coherently linked to his supposedly anti-gay, anti-abortion message. Do you think that that is cohesive? Do you think that these things go together? No. Why? Because he chose to express his true feelings about a hot-button issue to outflank other Republicans, while not expressing his true feelings on gay marriage, which is he doesn't care, or abortion, which is he doesn't care, specifically because it was politically untenable for him to do so. As far as Obama goes, he's a non-issue now. He's an outgoing president. In a few months, he will be gone. Thankfully, he'll go back to Hawaii, he'll eat some pineapples and some pork chops. Good riddance. Hopefully we never have to see him on TV again because he's a raging embarrassment. The fact that he's black is not going to exonerate him from my criticism any more than Hillary being a female or Gary Johnson being a pothead. If a politician deserves criticism, it doesn't matter what their status is, they're going to get it. That's about all. Peace out.